One of my favorite episodes that actually challenges the idea of polygamy, I think, comes with the Darger family. The Darger family is, in all, metrics, probably the ideal polygamist family. He has three wives. He can openly show PDAs, public displays of affection, without a whole lot of jealousy. They operate as a unit. For the most part, they live in the same home. They share the same kitchen. Everything is shared. They have 23 kids, so they have more kids than the Brown family with less wives. And for the most part, everything seems to be flowing the right way. And just as a quiet note, with that being said, there is something about Joe Darger that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Like on paper and watching him on the show, he seemed like the ideal husband and everything. He had all the right answers for a lot of the issues that Kody and the wives face. But when it came down to it, homeboy just had my spidey sense going crazy. I don't know what it is about him, but that's just the feeling I get. He just rubs me the wrong way. But when I watch the interactions between him and Kody and his family, one of the things that really struck me was how much Cody's wives, Christine, Janelle, and Mary, and even Robin, admire Joe Darger and openly admire this man.
I could be married to that. I'm just saying.
I liked what I saw.
As a polygamist, his wives and his family are the ideal that they almost strive for. They're bragging on him. And Cody's face, as they're talking about Joe Darger, is priceless. Like, this dude is so hurt and he's so upset. And I get it. I mean, I'm not a polygamist, but in a monogamous sense, this would be the equivalent of your girlfriend or your wife calling some other guy, especially a friend of yours, calling the dude shoulders. Like, oh, shoulders is coming. Thick chest is here. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to hear that stuff. Ooh, look at them arms. Like, oh, he just looks like he gives the best hugs. Like, you don't want to hear that about your friend, especially about your friend. So from that respect, I can sympathize with Cody's little quandary, but I don't feel bad for him because you're kind of a jerk. But either way, one of the things that I notice, anytime somebody criticizes or comments or talks about polygamy, one of the fallback excuses that they use is always, oh, well, you just don't understand what polygamy is about. You don't really get it. You just understand it from the view of a monogamist. You don't really understand it. Once you become a polygamist, all of a sudden people start acting different and they no longer have normal human being feelings. And they just all of a sudden become these majestic, pure, polygamist type people. Like, people are people and people are going to feel how people feel. And if you understand people, then it doesn't matter what the relationship is, whether it's romantic, financial, professional, whatever it is. You'll understand those types of relationships and those reactions. One of my favorite parts of the particular episode, the adult Browns and the adult Dargers all went out to dinner to express their feelings. And as they're talking to Joe Darger, he asks them, like, well, clearly you didn't envision your family were going to be in 4 separate houses. How is that going? And this is what Kody had to say with regard to them being in 4 different houses. And it's amazing.
Is that what you envisioned, were 4 separate homes?
When we moved to Vegas, so I figured we'd find some rich person who lost a home, short sell some 10,000, 15,000 square foot home with 4 kitchens that's, and 25 bedrooms. And that we'd be able to pick it up for pennies, that type of thing.
The unrealistic nature of what he's saying. If you look around your town where you live, how many houses, whether it's 10,000, 15, 20, 30,000 square feet, how many houses have 25 damn bedrooms and 4 distinct individual kitchens? Like, you aren't looking for a house, you're looking for a hotel. That's the most ridiculous, unrealistic thing. And I thought I was going to get it pennies on the dollar. What are you talking about? Dude, you talking about buying a castle or something. You're not talking about buying a home. Money that you would spend would be in the millions. Millions. Not, I'm going to spend probably about probably about 100,000. You lunatic. Like, I don't know. Kody is such an unrealistic person. And I can see the frustration on Janelle's face because she understands how money works. But Robin trying to be the supportive wife is sitting there nodding like a crazy person. Like, just because you supporting somebody shouldn't involve you making an ass of yourself. You shouldn't have to suspend reality in order to support your husband, your wife, or son, daughter, whoever. There's also another point in here where Christine tried to give the whole excuse of, well, we had to do a reset because the three of us were living in the house and Robin wasn't here. She lived down the street and it wasn't really fair to her. So we had to do a whole reset anyway. So it just kind of made sense that we came out here. When you reset, because of the demands and needs that you had, and nobody can share a room, none of the wives can share a kitchen. Because of those demands, your options were limited to you finding 4 individual homes. And once you find 4 individual homes, it was a wrap. It was a wrap because you're not going to have the one resource, which is Kody, the father of the children, and your support system available to you. So you're going to be 4 independent women, 4 individual households. And there was no way around that. But when the Darger wife, one of the Darger twin wives, suggested that they share a kitchen, this is what she had to say.
Someday, if you ever have to reset again, try out the idea of sharing the kitchen, sharing all the meals and stuff.
We won't go there again because we've done that.
Now watch the face of the Darger women when Kody says that. Look at how the Darger women respond to him. Like, they look so mad and dejected. Like, they're just fed up with the situation. I think for the most part, the Dargers don't respect Kody and the Brown family. Like, as much as they try to hold out that we're just the average, normal, everyday polygamous family. Like, the polygamists don't respect you in your relationships and how you're conducting your household. The large part of the reason why they never made another appearance on Sister Wives, from intellectual perspective and just having a discussion about polygamy, this would be more in line with how I would think that polygamy would even be possible. Like, I don't think that you can have, if you have four wives and 4 separate households and everybody's kind of doing their own separate thing, then your kids are not going to see each other as brothers and sisters. They are brothers and sisters, but when rubber meets the road, they don't have that bond that you would expect siblings to have. Hell, you could have 2 sets of kids that grow up in 2 different eras in the same house, meaning the same parents, just years and years apart, where the parents were in one financial position when one set of kids were young, and the parents are in a completely different financial position as the second set of kids come along. And those kids, although they're brothers and sisters, grow up with the same people, maybe even close to the same house, their experience with those parents are going to be completely different. So those kids aren't going to necessarily, they're going to have a sibling bond, but their bond isn't going to be as strong as it would when you have somebody who goes through the same situation as you do. My favorite is when you have Kody give his excuse as to why kitchens won't work. Let's take a look at that.
From Joe's family's perspective, they feel like that for the sake of the family, they sacrifice their own identity in the kitchen and that they share a kitchen. And that's great for them if that's their choice.
Yeah, that's great for them if that's their choice. That works for them, but I'm not going to do that because my wives need to have their separate stuff because we living like rich people. Like, you idiot. Like, if anything, this is why you guys, the money situation for the Brown family didn't work out. They could be so much further ahead financially had they made better moves with their money early on. Rushing out, buying houses every couple years because you want to move somewhere. People insisting, like, for instance, even if you have to buy 4 individual homes or you have to rent 4 individual homes, it should be based on need. Not based on, oh, I like to have nice stuff, so even though I have 1 child, Mary, I get just as big a house as somebody who has 6 children. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make financial sense. And we could sit here and go back and forth about how it wasn't fair because Mary didn't choose to only have 1 child and she wanted to have more than 1 child. That's fine and good, and I get the sympathy side of it, but the realistic side and the financial side of it is she only had one child. She only had one mouth to feed. She didn't have multiple situations that she had to deal with. And that's no shot on Mary. I feel for her in her loss of her children. I feel for Christine. She also suffered miscarriages. But at the same time, if you're in a financial situation where you can't do the things you need to do, like provide insurance for your children, make sure that they have the food that they need, that they're not going to school hungry, things like that, that they have all their needs met. If you can't get the needs met, then somebody once have to take a back seat to that. There's a point that the Darger family wife had made that was so poignant because Mary, being Mary, wanted to give a little jab to the Darger families and their opinions about the kitchen and said, well, what about the decorations? And this is what they had to say. An excellent point from, well, I'm about to call her Lady Darger. I'm not sure what their names are, or even if I knew them, I don't know if anybody else would know them. So I'm just going to call her the Lady Darger. This is what she had to say.
So you guys don't like worry about like how you decorate the house?
Is how you decorate really that important compared to we want our children to grow up and know each other as brothers and sisters know each other? Is decorating something really that important compared to that? Not to me.
Yikes. Yikes. That's a burn. It demonstrates how petty a lot of the Brown family issues were. It demonstrates how small they were thinking, that they were only considering themselves and how they could prosper in a situation. And if you're going to make polygamy work, it can't be an individual push. It has to be a group thing. Like you have to have group think in order for polygamy to work. That's the only way I can really see that it would even be considered. Now, here's the secret to the sauce. Because I'm not a big proponent for group thought, and you necessarily saying that, oh, the group is more important than my individual needs, wants, or wishes, then that's part of the reason why I'm not a big proponent for polygamy. This is part of the reason why polygamy doesn't work is because in my mind, I think you would have to have a group first mentality. You would have to put the group first. You would have to say, you know what, I don't care about the decorations because you can't decorate. How are you going to pick one wife to make decisions on what the kitchen looks like when you have 3 other wives? So from that perspective, the 3 of them just have to deal with the kitchen as the kitchen is laid out. And it's what's functional. It's not what you like, it's what works. And from that point, you start to lose your identity. And that is part of the culture that I see. And that's part of the resistance that so many people have towards the idea of a polygamous relationship, that you do lose your identity. You lose your sense of self. You have to put aside, even in the realm of like the PDAs and how the Dargers were able to do it. The reason they're able to do it is because the wives don't have any sense of ownership. They have no sense of autonomy in the things that happen in their household or with their husband. So they can't and won't be upset when he's, out there booed up with the other wives. And that's part of the issue with polygamy. And I think that watching the Brown family and the Dargers try to talk to each other about polygamy gives far more information and takes away a lot of the excuses. I'd also like to note that I think it's interesting that Kody, when he's confronted with somebody like Joe Darger, how much he shrinks back, how much Kody falls back. Kody looks like a little kid when he's in the presence of Joe Darger. And I don't know whether he just looks like a little kid because he respects Joe Darger, or he looks like a little kid because he's around somebody whom will meet Kody with that same energy. If Kody tries to come at him and be bossy around him, he'll come back at Kody with the same energy. And I don't think Kody can take it. And I think that in and of itself goes a lot to what a lot of the people, at least on my site and the people I've seen in the comment section, say about like the tell-alls in different places like that, where Kody will talk to ladies, but he won't address or talk to men in the same way, form, and fashion. Like he won't meet that same energy because he knows that somebody, things might go left. So he always comes off super friendly, super nice, and super amicable when it comes to guys, but he's very defensive and he's very confrontational when he's dealing with women. That's my take. I'm James, and this has been my take on reality. And I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life.